It's all about posture today, you guys. We're going to talk about what contributes to bad posture and some fixes. Okay, so posture should be your number one priority, you guys, before you do any strengthening to your body, because there's so many muscle imbalances that could be happening a lot of times that this is going to cause what we call a forward head, slumped or rounded shoulders or rounded back, and then we've also got that pelvic posterior tilt. So this is going to start happening a lot of times if we're not really careful with what we're doing before we start any kind of weight training. So what we need to do is we need to kind of look at each one of these. What can we do to fix them? Maybe what are some weird habits that might be happening to cause that? So the first thing we're going to look at is that rounded upper back. So that's kind of when we kind of getting almost like this C shape. The shoulders are kind of rounding forward. We've got a lot of inhibited muscles here. We've got some shortening happening. We've got some weak muscles through the back. So one of the habits that a lot of us could be doing is just slumping. So I always tell people, stop slumping at work. We're on the computers. I was there. I worked in the corporate world for a long time. People would come by and they're like, oh my God, you're totally slumping. I was like, I am? I didn't even realize I was doing that. So it only takes 20 minutes of this for your body to kind of freeze up and love that position. So then you get up from your desk and you're walking to the break room and you're kind of like this all day. Then you get to the gym and maybe you don't stretch out and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do back day, and you haven't done any stretching and you're like, my back doesn't seem to be getting any bigger because you're just so rounded. Like everything's just completely off. So that's one thing to start at. You know, what are my habits? How am I walking? What's my posture? I try to think about my shoulders throughout the day because there's times when I get tired or something and I'm just kind of slumped over, and it's get those shoulders back. So just try to do that. Next, we can do what's called forced thoracic extension. So you can either use a full roll, like a foam roller, or for me, I use a half because I can't quite get over to the full one yet, because the goal with this one is you're going to put it on the ground. You want to put it underneath your shoulder blades. So you're going to put it underneath your shoulder blades. So about right here, and you want to go into like a thoracic extension with this one. You want to think about getting those shoulder blades open, your arms up, the butt needs to stay on the ground, and the goal is to try to touch your head and your hands to the floor without lifting your butt. So I'm only at a half crest shaped moon foam roller right now because I do have rounded shoulders. I have all of these issues that I'm working through. I've accepted it and I'm working on it. So I'm such a great candidate to show you what you don't want to look like sometimes. But most people are lucky enough to already be able to use a full foam roller under the shoulder blade. So what you don't want to do is this. That's not what you're looking to do. Your butt should be on the ground, but see, I can't even remotely tell you what you should really look like because your head and hands should pretty much be on the ground. So that's how you're going to get that forced thoracic extension. So if you're like me and you need to start with a half one, that's a-okay. You can progressively move up into a bigger one like this. But it's so great to just open that thoracic area where we're not kind of doing that and not kind of forcing ourselves into that. So that's where you're going to do it with foam roller. Okay, next we're going to do a little bit of a strengthening. So once we've looked at our habit for that, we've kind of gone into a forced thoracic extension. We're going to strengthen. We're going to do what's called a T-hold. Super light weights. These are threes. You can do 3, 5. You're going to lay on your stomach. What we're going to do is we're going to go into once again, we're going to go into thoracic extension. We're going to hold these dumbbells out. We're going to rotate our thumbs back. We're just really going to press through to try to open that thoracic area. And we're going to rest. So this you can hold for anywhere from 4 sets of 30 seconds. So once again, you're just going to rotate those thumbs back. Bring those shoulder blades together. And relax. Whew. So what are we doing there? We're stretching out those tight muscles in the front, and we're gonna strengthen those elongated muscles in the back that are a little bit weaker, that are allowing those shoulders and that back to kind of round and slump forward. Okay, so next, now we're really gonna look into more of the shoulder rounding. So we've looked at, why is my back rounding? So then you get into kind of that shoulder rounding. And a lot of times this is really just a consequence of a rounded thoracic spine, also adapted shortening, which once again is gonna be in your chest. So what we're gonna do, and I started doing these a couple months ago, and if you're somebody like me who has all of this, it was really hard for me to feel like I was actually engaging the muscle because it's not used to being engaged, because it's just so out of it. So when you do face pulls, you want to start with a lighter weight, quality of rep, you guys. That's really, even if you're doing 3 to 4 reps, I don't care. The whole goal with this is to get that mind muscle connection of how am I going to feel this through my back when it's been just kind of on vacation. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to a cable system, or you can do these with bands. We're just going to get a good stance. Let me get my handles right here. Once again, I'm using a light weight. I'm just going to pull this towards my face, but I'm also thinking about bringing my thumbs up and my shoulders together up at my face and back. So I'm really just trying the best that I can to get that thoracic area to open. You can see how I'm really kind of squeezing those shoulder blades together, really, really pulling. And it's still even a little bit of an uncomfortable move for me. Sorry, I'm kind of flipped over here. There we go. So with that, we're pulling at our face, but we want to think about bringing our thumbs back. So think about 2 handles and pulling and bringing the thumbs back. That's really the goal, right at our face. You can really feel that engaging in the back. That's the muscle we need to bring together and really strengthen. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the forward neck issue. So with the forward neck, there's so many intricate little muscles in there, but once again, it's the same situation. We've got certain muscles that are going to be long and weak, and we've gotten these shortened, tight muscles that are going to be happening, and that's what's going to cause that neck to start protruding out front. So there's a super easy fix for this one. What you're going to do is you're just going to find a wall, and we're going to go into what's called a wall lean exercise. So what we're going to do is we're just going to stand up against the wall. We're going to think about bringing our shoulders back, because any of us who have that rounded back, rounded shoulders, as I stand here, that's where they feel like they're going to be the most comfortable. So I'm going to have to think about kind of bringing those back a little bit. I want my head not looking up, not really tucking my chin, just a neutral head forward. I'm just going to stand here. My head is going to be back up against the wall, and then I'm just going to walk about a foot out from the wall. My shoulders are now off of the wall. My ears should be over my shoulders. My head is back up against the wall, and what's happening right now? So I'm forcing my head to do all of the work right now. So I'm stretching out some of those tight muscles, and I'm strengthening those weaker muscles. And I'm going to hold this for about 3 minutes. So this isn't kind of a light exercise where you're just here for, a few seconds. You need to hold this for about 3 minutes. Once you're done with that, you're just going to step up, and you can really feel a big difference. I really felt those muscles back there working. So it's a super easy exercise you can do anywhere. Okay, next we're going to talk about that good old pelvic tilt. So Mr. Pelvis down here, so why does he progressively go into that posterior tilt? Well, because he's got all this craziness happening up here. We've got all of these imbalances. Everything's completely out of whack. Our neck is here, our shoulders are rounding, so the pelvis is like, well gosh, what do I do? Okay, well I gotta tuck under because I'm trying to carry all this, chaos that's happening in my upper body. that is another, so it's kind of like this little chain effect. The kinetic chain is just getting kinked all the way down. So, and another thing that's going to happen is our hamstrings are going to start shortening, because what happens, we're losing our butt because our pelvis is tilting under. Our hamstrings are going to start shortening, so then we're just basically kind of, you know, looking like we're 90 in our 20s. And this does happen. I have seen 20-year-old guys in the gym that have all of these things happening to them. So it really does happen, you guys. And I know it's hard to kind of take a look at our own posture or fess up to what we have. Like, I had to finally say, oh my gosh, I have round shoulders. I have a lot of this stuff going on. And it's kind of like, it's nothing bad, we can fix it. And that's kind of the goal here today. So the solution to try to help that posterior tilt, we're gonna just try to stretch it out a little bit. So what we're gonna do is, you know what, I'm gonna use this right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just find a little bit of a rise. I'm gonna try to start stretching those hamstrings out a little bit. So I'm gonna just think about flexing my foot. I'm gonna keep my legs straight. I'm gonna think about just slightly leaning forward. This is where you're gonna think about putting your pelvis into a anterior tilt, which is gonna be opposite. This is posterior. Anterior is butt out, which is easier for me because I already have that. And then we're just gonna think about reaching forward and stretching that hamstring out. So we're just reaching, sitting back, and you're gonna find that sweet spot. Ooh, and boy, it's gonna burn up and down that leg. But that's what another thing we really have to start doing, is getting a really good stretch on those hamstrings. So once again, if you're sitting all day, long commutes, all of that stuff, think about getting those stretches in. It's kind of like it's gonna start here and work its way down. All right, you guys. So working on all of these changes is gonna take a little time. It didn't happen overnight. A lot of us could have, you know, been like this since we were kids, and we just kind of grew up with all of these things already happening, and we maybe never addressed them when we started working out or doing sports, and it just kind of amplified all of these different things that are happening in our body. But it's never too late. These are all correctable. You can do it on your own with a lot of these exercises, and just being aware that it's happening in your body. That's the other thing. Okay, you guys, go to it. Get that body straightened out. Just be patient. It takes a little time. Thanks for joining me today. Hey, hit the like button, subscribe, leave us comments. Thanks again. See you guys soon.